Sit back and you can practice this movement. Just swing around the racket and forward, and then the same with the racket. Swing around, forward. Swing around and forward. And for two-handed backhand, I see a lot of mistakes when players just go this way and they never go a bit outward. And so if you do not go outward, you will not have this effect. You will not create a nice natural swing, and you will lose on very effortless power. And so when you swing outward a bit, then your arms, if they're relaxed enough, they're going to come here. Then you will have an inside-out swing, which you then direct into a straight line for a short time to give the ball direction. So outward, inward, straight.
Special thanks to Brad from Slow Motion Tennis for letting me use his videos for this analysis. Please visit his channel for more slow motion footage of the pros. So now that you're aware of this outward-inward swing path, can you see it in the ground strokes of the pros? You can see that all pros swing more or less outwards and circle around. Monfils and Gasquet, for example, use this principle of the outward swing and around in a circular manner quite a lot, especially on their forehands, but it exists also in their backhands. Nadal, of course, swings outwards too in the beginning, but his forehand technique is very unique and I don't recommend copying it. The one that I could blame, well, just kidding, for not making this universal swing path more obvious is Roger Federer, because he uses just a little bit of it in most cases on his forehand, since he uses a lot of wrist lag, body rotation and perfect timing to hit the ball well. But if you watch carefully, you will see occasions where the universal outward swing path is very obvious, like in the case of this inside-out forehand. And because Federer's forehand is probably the most analyzed forehand online, players and coaches are missing the fundamentals of the forehand technique that they need to be learned first before the player possibly evolves his forehand further into his preferred style. If you watch this video to the end, I'll show you how I teach a 10-year-old boy the fundamentals of the forehand technique through this universal swing path principle, and how we have corrected his technique with it, and how effortlessly he hits forehands now.
If you follow my videos for a while, then you know that one of the videos I did was a comparison between Simona Halep and Roger Federer and the way they drop the racket from their initial preparation phase and what the differences are. And so Simona goes more like this with the edge down or with the edge back, and then Federer goes with the face down. And what I noticed is that after that video, players ask me for advice, they send me their videos about the way they drop the racket. And I realized they didn't see the 3 dimensions of a stroke, of the backswing. Because that video is recorded from the side, those videos of Halep and Federer, they're recorded from the side. So the only thing you see is the drop of the racket in this plane. And so you're just looking at whether the racket goes in the drop like this or it goes like this, and then what happens afterwards. And so what happened when people were looking at the video from the side is that they thought, or you might still think, is that when we go in the backswing like this, is that we just drop like this. So either like this on the edge or like this. And you don't see that the stroke happens in another plane, in another dimension. So it's not just up and drop. That's just one plane. There is another plane, and that's the outward plane. And so all ground strokes, they always go outwards, they circle around, and then they go forward. So they go outwards, then they come around here, then they have a slight swing path inside out, and then they go straight for a while, or sometimes when there's a lot of stop spin, the stroke goes quickly over. And so I realized that players missed that part of the information. They were looking at the stroke only in 2 dimensions, just up and down, and nothing to the side. And so this universal swing path is very, very important, because I see a lot of players not using it, not knowing that it exists. So all tennis strokes, all ground strokes, they always start outwards in order to create centrifugal force with which we accelerate the racket when we rotate the body, and we automatically create an inside-out swing path that is accelerating the racket and after that we give the ball some direction. And so the swing path and the drop of the racket does not happen just in this plane, it happens in a combination. So the racket always goes this way outwards, and then while it's dropping, it's probably also moving across. It's not just dropping down like this or like this. It's always in a circular motion, this way, or the backhand goes always outward and like this, and two-handed backhand goes this way and this way. It does not go up and down. One-handed backhand does not go up and down. There is always a circular element of the stroke that helps us accelerate the racket with the hip rotation. Here's one-handed, and here's two-handed.
And here's an example of a forehand of a 10-year-old boy that wasn't really using an outwards backswing, but was pulling the arm just straight back and behind his back. He had a pause there and also became quite tense. This is the second most common backswing mistake on all ground strokes. So with this boy, we used the simple drill I showed you before, where the racket is on the ground and he has to swing following the racket's shape. Of course, I make sure that he is focused on the hip rotation too when he accelerates forward. We repeated this drill quite a few times in the following sessions, since it takes quite a few repetitions to change stroke technique. And here's how he was hitting recently.
So now that you have more awareness of the swing path, of the universal swing path that applies to all ground strokes, see if you can see it when the pros are playing, or when your coach is playing, when a skilled player is playing. See if you can notice that this always happens, and then practice it. It's very easy to practice it. You can put the racket down and just swing your arm for 1 or 2 minutes. You can do that every day for a couple of minutes just to get a hang of it, just to start to feel how this functions. It works for all ground strokes. Just follow the racket, put the racket down and follow outward, inward, and straight. Outward, inward. There's again outward a bit. So this way, straight. And it's very easy and very natural because it's based on biomechanics. And your body would like to move like that. It's very easy for the body to move like that. It's very easy to create a swing like that. And so when you practice this for a couple of minutes per day, you're going to see a big improvement in the effortlessness of your strokes. So if that's the case, please let me know how this works for you in the comments below. And if you like this video, please like it, subscribe, and stay in touch.